Baseball has fined and suspended New York's Josh Donaldson for 1 game for an incident on Saturday involving Chicago's Tim Anderson that ignited both the Yankees and White Sox benches to clear for a tussle near home plate. After the game, Anderson told reporters that Donaldson repeatedly called him Jackie in reference to Jackie Robinson, a situation that the White Sox manager Tony La Russa derided as racist. Donaldson admitted to calling Anderson Jackie, and having done so repeatedly since 2019, he denied any racist intent, telling reporters on Saturday that he was just joking around based on Anderson comparing himself to Robinson in a 2019 interview. A Major League Baseball statement on Monday stated that Donaldson's intent wasn't a factor in handing down the suspension, declaring the commentary disrespectful and in poor judgment. There is no dispute over what was said on the field, Major League Baseball statement reads. Regardless of Mr. Donaldson's intent, the comment he directed toward Mr. Anderson was disrespectful and in poor judgment, particularly when viewed in the context of their prior interactions. In addition, Mr. Donaldson's remark was a contributing factor in a bench clearing incident between the teams and warrants discipline. At the time, it wasn't clear what sparked the incident. After the game, La Russa told reporters that Donaldson made a racist comment directed at Anderson. He made a racist comment, Donaldson, and that's all I'm going to say, La Russa said. Anderson then revealed that Donaldson repeatedly called him Jackie, calling the commentary disrespectful. Donaldson is appealing the penalty. Okay, remember the title of this topic is Liberalism and Conservatism, a bad look for both sides. Well, this is the liberal side, and it is a bad look. To break it down, there was a play involving Tim Anderson of the White Sox, who is black, and Josh Donaldson of the Yankees, who is white. And there's been a constant banter of Donaldson needling Anderson going back to 2019, when Anderson referred to himself as a modern-day Jackie Robinson type player. So afterwards, Donaldson latched onto that comment and began calling Anderson Jackie, as if to say, you're not that player. To me, there's nothing wrong with that, because players, no matter the sport, get on each other like that. And to me, that was pretty lame, because I've always seen and heard far worse. But in today's cancel culture, it doesn't take much. And I can understand the sensitivity in the situations because of the past and America's racist history. I can understand going back and atoning for past sins and mistakes, like General Mills Food getting rid of the name Aunt Jemima from its pancakes. Now, I think getting rid of the name and still have the face of a female black woman would have been sufficient. And in another situation, I didn't see the reasoning of changing Uncle Ben's rice, which was an example of being overly sensitive. Such as this situation with Donaldson and Anderson, baseball said the reason for the suspension was not because of intent, but because of poor judgment and being disrespectful. What? Also, I must point out that Major League Baseball are hypocrites, because no punches were thrown and both benches being cleared, which happens occasionally. And there is never anyone being suspended. And again, athletes disrespect each other every day of the week. It's part of the game. And where does the supposed poor judgment come in? Jackie Robinson wasn't disrespected. And as I see it, he was being respected by Donaldson for mocking Anderson by calling him Jackie, as if to say, you're not the player Jackie was. And it was wrong for manager Tony La Russa, to say that it was racist of Donaldson to call Anderson Jackie. Are there racist people? Yes. Is there racism? Yes. But this was not a racist situation. This was clearly an athlete being an athlete. Nothing to do with racism.
Major League baseball, the Yankees' Josh Donaldson was handed a one-game suspension for something he said to White Sox star Tim Anderson. It started this bench-clearing incident on Saturday. Donaldson, who is white, admits calling Anderson Jackie, a reference to Jackie Robinson. Anderson, who is black, says the comment was racist. Donaldson denies that. He said he had called him Jackie several times before, after Anderson said in 2019 that he saw himself as a potential modern-day Jackie Robinson. Major League Baseball said yesterday, regardless of Mr. Donaldson's intent, the comment he directed toward Mr. Anderson was disrespectful and in poor judgment.
It was 100% meant to be disrespectful. It wasn't a compliment. It wasn't intended to lift him up. It was intended to be a shot.
I mean,
it's unfortunate.
There's a line, you know.
There's a line, yeah, of course.
Looks like he crossed that line.
Yeah, he crossed it. He crossed it. He's lucky to only have a one-game suspension. He's also lucky that his teammates are still taking him on at the moment.
Oh, they're supporting him?
He addressed the clubhouse. I don't know if they're supporting him, but you know.
You look at the diversity in the locker room, of course. Statements like that can cause a little bit of disconnection.
100%. You know well. I mean,
no doubt.
I was waiting to see what they were going to say after the segment was shown, and it doesn't surprise me. They wanted to make sure that they were on the side of what they feel is right, and in so doing, they're saying that Donaldson was in the wrong, and to me, the most egregious person among them was Nate Burleson, who was a former player in the NFL, but yet he sat there in agreement. Look, it doesn't matter your political affiliation, but what does matter is right. What does matter is right and wrong is wrong. And if the side that you normally agree with is wrong, be man enough or woman enough to admit it. And be man enough or woman enough to know when being too sensitive has gone too far.
New is turning his focus to the unopposed Democratic candidate for governor, STACEY Abrams, and these comments she made last weekend.
I am tired of hearing about being the best state in the country to do business when we are the worst state in the country to live. When you're number 48 for mental health, when you're number 1 for maternal mortality, then you're not the number 1 place to live.
And while the 48-year-old has called Georgia home since high school, Purdue had this response last night.
Said Georgia's the worst place in the country to live. Hey, she ain't from here. Let her go back where she came from. She didn't.
Okay, here now is the conservative side of the bat, as you see Representative Stacey Abrams speak about her concerns about the state of Georgia. She spoke about Georgia being number 48 in mental health and number 1 in infant mortality. She spoke about her state improving, so in that regard, for her, it's not the best look. But hey, I understand when you speak about the home team or your wife or your husband or anything else you partner with, it's not looked upon too well when you speak negative. But I see her as someone who's being upfront and transparent to her voters. Just like I saw Republican Liz Cheney take heat from her party when she did not back President Trump. I have tremendous respect for a person when they speak their mind and not be afraid to step on a few toes and ruffle some feathers, and not be swayed because friends, family, or in this case, political party affiliation. Notice, it's a certain crowd that will say you need to back away from, where you need to go back from where you came from, if you don't like this country, or for this matter, the state. So how are we to address issues that we don't agree with? And when we do it, doesn't make you hate your country or state as others will claim you are. Being concerned doesn't mean you hate and disrespect where you are, and certain people will put you out to be that way. I, for instance, don't like the institutionalization of racism in this country. I don't like the abuse of power of cops towards black people. I don't like liberals pandering to every whim of the gay agenda. For me, it's not about one side or the other. It's about right over wrong in my Christian beliefs. But I digress.
Stacey Abrams, who raised eyebrows when she apparently disparaged her own state. Watch.
I am tired of hearing about being the best state in the country to do business when we are the worst state in the country to live.
We have to be able to flip if we want to take back the House. Right. And we are ready. We're up for the job. And I'm telling you, people are just sick. I mean, especially in our rural areas, some folks don't even have a grocery store in their city. Some folks don't have Wi-Fi in our district. I mean, this is 2022, and so many people in our rural areas have been so forgotten. And they're saying, look, we want people who are willing to speak up for us.
Right, and there's some people that are running in that state that don't seem to like it too much, including Stacey Abrams. Listen to this.
I'm running for governor because I know that we have to have a conversation about who we are in this state and what we want for each other and from each other. I am tired of hearing about being the best state in the country to do business when we are the worst state in the country to live.
So it's the worst state in the country to live.
It's amazing to me that you have someone running for governor who's supposed to be the ambassador of our state, and she's already criticizing and publicly shaming our state.
As you can see, Fox News played only part of what Representative Abrams said, thus giving his viewers a very slanted opinion on what she said. And don't get me wrong, because both the liberal media and conservative media take issues and slant it to fit their narrative on occasions, which is why occasionally I like to see both points of view so I can make a more clear assessment of what's being said. Oh, and I leave you with this from Stephen A. Smith, who I sometimes don't agree with, but we do see eye to eye on this one. Enough said.
One and only Doug Glanville joining us now. Doug, thank you so much. Grateful to have your perspective this morning. Tell me this, sir. Do you believe MLB got it right with the one-game suspension?
I'd say they got it right politically, and it's because they had to thread a needle. They believed they had to thread a needle, because if you go very long into 2 weeks in these categories, then you talk about it being punitive and being an issue about, like, what are the politics behind it. Then if you don't do anything, then you show an insensitivity. And I wish they would have taken the time, because they didn't get into the details about what made it inappropriate, what was actually the issue. And because that actually allows you to learn from the nuances around what were the racial undertones, what were the questions around the motivation. That's where they could go and turn it into really a teachable moment. So they had to respond in some way to recognize that there's a lot more context that Tim Anderson was tapping into and feeling about it, where he did not give him license to be able to call him whatever he wanted. So I think Major League Baseball is in this position, which I think I hope that they'll seize, to be able to escalate it to a place where we can all understand the nuances of what goes behind it, because there's a lot more to it than just what happens on the field. A lot of people were affected by that, players or non-players.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a question before I give you my opinion about this. Are you aware at all of what Tim Anderson had to say in direct response to Josh Donaldson's assertion that it came from the Sports Illustrated article where Tim Anderson called himself the next Jackie Robinson, and that he had been calling Tim Anderson Jackie on several occasions? Are you aware of any response from Tim Anderson directly addressing that assertion by Josh Donaldson?
The only thing I heard from Tim Anderson was his presser after the game, in talking about why he felt like there was an element of disrespect. Remember, Tony La Russa classified it as a racist comment. He didn't call him a racist. And so, yes, I'm aware of the fact that Tim Anderson had some interaction with Josh Donaldson prior. But to me, there's an element of that that's irrelevant. Because that, let's say it was 2019 or whatever he categorizes it as. Okay, that's years ago. And he's gonna pull it from some article and decide he has license to call him what he wants? No, you need to be invited into what you can call me. I get to decide what you get to call me. If I get a PhD tomorrow and I come on this show,
right,
and I decide you need to call me Dr. Glanville, then you call me Dr. Glanville.
Okay.
That's what happens.
I love
Well,
the
let me
way
go
that
You don't have the right. And by the way, Josh...
I want to get in here, Doug. I want to get in here. Well, go ahead.
Josh Donaldson said, by the way, oh, I don't know what changed. Well, you know what changed? George Floyd changed. Ahmaud Arbery changed. A whole lot of things changed where you have the right to decide that later you can decide to say you can call me X. And that's my decision. It's not up to Josh Donaldson or anybody to decide what to call you.
You need to be invited.
You
I just wanted to highlight that one point because I haven't heard anyone say that. You need to be invited to what you can call me.
Okay.
That's so well put.
You are right.
Absolutely. And they're not friends.
Doug. It's a two-way conversation, my brother. I'll let you speak. Let me chime in here. It's important, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on this one. I think this suspension by Major League Baseball was bogus. I think that Josh Donaldson was done wrong on this. And I want to emphasize why without disagreeing with what you just said in terms of being invited. I totally get that. I totally agree. I'm a black man just like you. Totally agree. We're 100% lockstep on that. I'm talking about this specific relationship with Tim Anderson and Josh Donaldson. Yes, George Floyd happened. That is absolutely true. My point to you is this. Tim Anderson knows that. Josh Donaldson knows that. If there was communication between the two, and Josh Donaldson comes out and he explains where it emanated from, then if you're Tim Anderson, you need to tell us, excuse me, you found it disrespectful. What about what he said that y'all were talking? Y'all just talked a few months ago. Y'all just talked last season. You talked the season before that. Was it offensive then? Because when you start talking about things moving and things changing, wait a minute here. What if Tim Donaldson, let me ask you, I'm not asking you this, it's a rhetorical question. If Josh Donaldson sat up there and said, you ain't no damn Jackie Robinson, should MLB suspend him off of that? I'd say no. You're the opposition. You in an article calling yourself the next Jackie Robinson. I'm looking you dead in your face as a competitor against you and saying, no, you ain't him. You didn't integrate the sport. You ain't the player that he was, etc., etc. I'm saying, if I'm Josh Donaldson, we don't know that. Josh, and hold on.
Yeah,
because we don't know that. Because we don't know that. My issue is that Tim Anderson, and I'm not against him in any way. I'm not even saying that he's wrong about what he's saying. I'm saying when Josh Donaldson explained himself, to me, Tim Anderson has an obligation to address that assertion from Josh Donaldson before Major League Baseball takes a position or before we take a position. What I get tired of from our community is when Josh Donaldson, to use this example, you make an assertion and an allegation, and then we want to grab stuff from an historical perspective and bring everything into the mix without hearing from Tim Anderson directly addressing the assertion that Donaldson made about what their relationship was like. That's why I feel Donaldson is getting screwed over here. The MLB is making a political statement to finally make themselves look right in the eyes of America, because Major League Baseball is always the last to the party. Okay? But Josh Donaldson made an assertion.
Yeah.
Where's that response from Tim Anderson? That's what I want to know.
Well,